Tonight is a special night at the White House. It's Donald and Melania's 20th wedding anniversary. 20 years is a long time, especially for Melania. This morning, Trump paid tribute to his longest-serving wife by reposting this AI image of himself with a lion.
Jimmy Kimmel recently cracked a joke about Trump's marriage on his late-night show, and it seems to have hit a sore spot. Reports say Trump is fuming, almost like a kettle about to whistle. The big question is, will he brush it off, or will we see one of his signature social media outbursts? And let's not forget Melania. She might just hit him with that classic, "not this again" expression. Either way, this drama is heating up, so sit back and enjoy the show.
I'm guessing he noticed a bunch of people posting about his anniversary, which remind him, oh, it's my anniversary. So he then reposted this sweet photo of Melania literally pushing him away from her.
Jimmy Kimmel is a master at pushing buttons. With years of late-night experience, he knows that poking fun at Trump isn't just about comedy. It's a guaranteed way to set the media on fire. So when he stepped onto the stage, grinning like he just landed the perfect punchline, the audience could sense something big was coming and brace themselves for the ride.
Well, our president kept the crowd very warm at CPAC over the weekend. CPAC, if you're not familiar, is basically what would happen if Judge Jeanine Pirro headlined the Fire Festival. It's a lot of very angry white people. It is the largest gathering of people who believe vaccines are witchcraft in the world. And for 2 hours and 2 minutes, Donald Trump gave what I believe we may look back on as his I Have a Dream speech. This was his longest speech since taking office. He went on and on. You could have left this speech, watched 2 episodes of Game of Thrones, come back, and he would still have been going. And to kick things off, Trump went to one of his signature moves to start it. And I know there's a lot of competition, but I think this might be the dumbest thing he does. Who does that? Donald Trump shows more affection to flags than Eric and Don Jr. have ever gotten in their whole lives.
He kicked things off with a few harmless quips, light and breezy, just enough to get the audience chuckling without stirring the pot too much. It was the standard opener, a way to set the mood. But everyone in the room knew the real moment hadn't arrived yet. Then, just as expected, he dropped the punchline. Precise, flawlessly timed, and landing with a punch.
Has there ever been a worse host than Jimmy Kimmel at the Oscars? His opening was that of a less-than-average person trying too hard to be something which he is not and never can be. Blah, 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 make America great again. Thank you for watching. I'm surprised you're still watching. Isn't it past your jail time?
At every comedy show, there are always a few people who sit there stone-faced, as if cracking a smile might get them in trouble. Meanwhile, the rest of the crowd is in stitches, laughing, clapping, and struggling to catch their breath from the jokes. Oh wait, quick pause. Did you know that 99% of you watching right now aren't subscribed? If you're enjoying the content and want more, take a second to hit that subscribe button. It's a small action, but it makes a huge difference and helps keep this channel running. Be part of the community, and let's grow together. All right, back to the story. According to reports from multiple news outlets, his former sister-in-law alleges that Hegseth's wife was terrified he would abuse her to the point where she and her sister had a code to text each other if her husband became violent, and she feared for her safety. This is where things get even better. Kimmel doesn't just drop a joke and move on. He digs in. He builds on it, breaks it down, and keeps pushing, making it even funnier. Or harsher, depending on your perspective. He teases it out, stretching the moment until some people in the crowd are laughing so hard they can barely breathe. And let's not forget the cameras, because whenever a comedian roasts Trump, you can bet they're rolling, ready to capture every reaction.
If I was going to make stuff up about him, I'd start telling people he wears diapers. I would explain that it's a long trial. He drinks a lot of Diet Cokes to stay awake. He's getting up there in years, and it's perfectly normal for a man of Trump's age and carriage to wear absorbent undergarments to stop the leaks. So, I mean, if I was making stuff up, I would point out that the reason he stands like this and golfs like this and plays tennis like this is because he has a full diaper strapped around his little mushroom garden. Okay?
The cameras sweep across the audience, hunting for those priceless reactions that are bound to go viral. Who's doubled over with laughter? Who's biting their lip, trying not to crack a smile? Who's nervously checking their phone, wondering if their conservative relatives saw them laughing? It's all part of the spectacle. Meanwhile, somewhere in a quiet room, Trump might already be watching, a Diet Coke within reach. Maybe he was casually flipping channels and landed on Kimmel's joke at the worst possible moment. Or perhaps an aide just sent him a heads up, warning that Truth Social, definitely not Twitter, was about to go into meltdown mode. One thing's for sure, Kimmel just ensured that Trump's next 24 hours will be spent crafting the ultimate fiery response.
Jimmy Fallon asks me if he could do one thing. Could he play with my hair?
Can I mess your hair up?
I want to see if it's real. So he didn't just play. He puts his hand in my hair, and the audience went wild, and they loved it. 6 months later, he stood up, and he said, "I'd like to apologize for doing that." He lost his whole audience when he did that.
Would it be an all-caps meltdown? A rambling post about fake news and washed-up late-night hacks? Or maybe a wild new conspiracy theory accusing Jimmy Kimmel of being part of some deep state scheme to take him down? No one knew just yet, but one thing was clear. This joke had set off a chain reaction, and the fallout was inevitable. Trump and late-night comedians are like sparks and dry tinder. The fire just keeps burning. And if there's one thing these shows can always count on, it's that making fun of Trump guarantees headlines, viral clips, and an all-out war in the comment section. But this rivalry didn't begin with his presidency. Long before politics, Trump was already a prime target for late-night humor. Back in the 80s and 90s, he was the flashy real estate mogul with gold-plated buildings and an ego to match. A walking punchline before he ever set foot in Washington. Comedians had a field day back then too, poking fun at his extravagant lifestyle, bizarre TV cameos, and of course, that infamous hair.
Usually when Donald Trump gets a spanking like this from a woman, it's with a Forbes magazine. Kamala was pushing his buttons like a 12-year-old playing Fortnite. This was a much better debate than the last debate. This is like the Lion King when Simba came back to avenge Mufasa. Trump's advisors, before the debate, they urged him to be happy Trump instead of mean bully Trump, and to please focus on the issues. Of course, he didn't listen to any of that at all. But who are we kidding? This election isn't about the issues. I mean, Dick Cheney isn't voting for Kamala Harris because he agrees with her on the issues. He's voting for her because there's a rhinoceros charging and she has the tranquilizer gun.
Then came the Apprentice era, where Trump leaned into his persona as the no-nonsense boss who fired people for sport. Late-night icons like Conan O'Brien, David Letterman, and Jay Leno had a field day mocking everything from his signature catchphrase to his obsession with slapping his name on anything that stood still. Back then, Trump didn't just tolerate the jokes, he played along. He even appeared on these shows, laughing with the hosts, embracing the humor as part of his over-the-top brand. But everything shifted in 2016 when Trump made the leap from reality TV mogul to presidential contender. Late-night comedy took on a sharper edge. It was no longer just about poking fun at a flamboyant billionaire. It became an all-out war. Stephen Colbert, already a master of political satire from The Colbert Report, ramped up his Trump-focused monologues. Seth Meyers, who had famously roasted Trump at the 2011 White House Correspondents' Dinner, turned his show into a nightly takedown. Even Jimmy Kimmel, known for his light-hearted humor, dove headfirst into political commentary, using his platform to critique Trump's policies, statements, and infamous Twitter rants. Then there was Jimmy Fallon, who tried to stay out of the political fray, but it backfired spectacularly. His now infamous 2016 interview, where he playfully tousled Trump's hair, sparked a massive backlash. Critics accused him of humanizing Trump at a critical moment, and the fallout was swift. Fallon later admitted he regretted it, but Trump never let it slide. Even years later, he mocked Fallon, telling him to be a man and stop apologizing. Once in the White House, Trump had zero patience for late-night comedians. He dismissed them as unfunny, irrelevant, and part of the so-called fake news machine. When Colbert delivered a particularly brutal monologue, Trump brushed him off as no talent. When Kimmel called him out, Trump clapped back with jabs about his ratings. If he wasn't ranting about them on Twitter, or later Truth Social, he was complaining at rallies, using their jokes as fuel for his supporters. Even now, long after leaving office, Trump's feud with late-night TV is far from over. The problem? The jokes haven't stopped. As long as there's a stage, a mic, and an audience ready to laugh at his expense, late-night host will always have fresh material to work with.
Jimmy Fallon asks me if he could do one thing. Could he play with my hair?
Can I mess your hair up?
I want to see if it's real. So he didn't just play. He puts his hand in my hair, and the audience went wild, and they loved it. 6 months later, he stood up, and he said, I'd like to apologize for doing that. He lost his whole audience when he did that.
For years, Trump and Melania's marriage has been one of the internet's greatest enigmas, right up there with the secrets of Area 51 and how Nickelback still sells albums. From an outsider's perspective, their relationship often appears less like a love story and more like a carefully negotiated contract, complete with an unspoken ban on public hand-holding. Naturally, late-night comedians, especially Jimmy Kimmel, have seized every awkward moment as comedy gold. Kimmel's joke wasn't just hilarious, it was a precisely delivered punch at a topic that has fascinated people for ages. The audience's reactions said it all. Bursts of laughter, gasps, and that undeniable, "oh, he really went there" energy. And honestly, it's not shocking. Trump and Melania's marriage has been scrutinized, memified, and analyzed so intensely that even the smallest interaction between them feels like a high-stakes spectacle.
Hey, speaking of prisoners, this should be an interesting Valentine's Day at the White House. For instance, will Donald Trump get flowers from Vladimir Putin? We don't know. And what about his wife, Melania? Will they spend the night together, or will she remain trapped like Rapunzel at their apartment in New York? You know, Melania Trump has a new line of greeting cards. They carry these now at CVS. They're interesting, actually. I've not seen any. Happy Valentine's Day. Open out, saving.
Who could forget the infamous hand swat moment? It was 2017. Trump and Melania were walking down a tarmac in Israel when Trump reached for her hand, smack! She swatted it away like she was dodging something unpleasant. That split-second exchange turned into an instant meme, sparking debates everywhere. Was it an accident or the most blatant rejection ever caught on film? From political analysts to armchair Twitter detectives, everyone had an opinion. Then there was the stare. During Trump's inauguration, Melania's forced smile disappeared the second he turned away, like a scene straight out of a psychological thriller. That clip resurfaced time and time again, fueling the ever-popular "Is Melania secretly miserable?" conspiracy. Mix in years of stiff photo ops, uncomfortable body language, and expressions that ranged from bored to outright annoyed, and their marriage became prime material for comedy. Kimmel knew exactly what he was doing with his joke. He was tapping into a long-running internet obsession. The audience ate it up, and social media went wild. Within minutes, Twitter was flooded with reactions. The hand swat clip made a grand return, while fresh theories popped up, everything from she's planning her escape to she's just biding her time for the inheritance. TikTok users turned the joke into dramatic skits with suspenseful music, and Instagram meme pages resurrected their classic Free Melania posts. Of course, Trump's supporters weren't amused. They called Kimmel's joke a low blow from out-of-touch Hollywood elites. Some defended the marriage, insisting their relationship was perfectly fine. A few even argued, who doesn't look miserable standing next to their spouse at some point?
I want to also thank my beautiful wife, Melania.
Love him or hate him, there's no denying that Trump's marriage has delivered some of the most painfully awkward moments in political history. And as long as comedians like Kimmel are in the game, those moments will never be forgotten. True to form, Trump did what he does best. He fired back with a storm of exclamation points. Did he unleash an all-caps rant on Truth Social? Without a doubt. Did he call Kimmel a low-rated nobody while blaming the dying late-night industry? Naturally. But the funniest part? In his attempt to brush off the joke, he ended up amplifying it. What could have been a passing laugh turned into a full-blown media spectacle simply because Trump couldn't resist taking the bait. Classic Trump, insisting he doesn't care while making sure everyone's still talking about it days later.
Jimmy Kimmel's a loser. We would do Jimmy Kimmel. I'd do Jimmy Kimmel. I did him a lot.
Yeah.
He used to greet me on the sidewalk outside of his studio. I'd come in. This was before politics, of course. But I'd come in, and he'd be standing on the sidewalk. "Oh, sir, may I bring you in?" He'd bring me in every time. And then I ran for politics. I never, got involved with him much. But all they do is talk bad about Trump. That's all. The whole show is talking bad about Trump.
He is a ridiculous person.
And just like that, the internet did what it does best. Turned the entire situation into a viral meme fest. Twitter lit up with reactions before Trump could even finish his next post. Clips of Melania blinking in Morse code flooded timelines, while TikTok users reenacted the joke with dramatic flair. Trump supporters rushed to defend him, calling it tasteless, while his critics laughed so hard they probably needed a moment to recover. Late-night hosts wasted no time jumping in, milking Kimmel's joke for every punchline possible. What started as a single quip quickly snowballed into an ongoing comedy spectacle, with Trump once again unintentionally taking center stage.
So I said to our great First Lady, who can draw a crowd? Did you watch me tonight on television, First Lady? People love our First Lady out there. Go out and get a book. She just wrote a book. I hope she said good things about it. I don't know. I didn't. So busy. She just wrote a book called Melania. Go out and buy it. It's great. And if she says bad things about me, I'll call you all up and I'll say, don't buy it, get rid of it.
Individual freedom is a fundamental principle that I safeguard. Without a doubt, there is no room for compromise when it comes to this essential right that all women possess from birth: individual freedom. What does my body?
As the internet went wild, all eyes turned to Melania, or more accurately, her complete lack of response. No statement, no cryptic Instagram post, not even a dismissive, "we don't care." Instead, people started analyzing her past expressions like forensic experts. Was she secretly amused by the chaos? Or just sighing in exhaustion, adding this to the ever-growing list of things she's over? The running joke became, does she even watch these shows? Or is she too busy mastering the art of the unreadable poker face? Either way, her silence said more than words ever could. Now, Kimmel has two choices: take the high road and move on, or do what every comedian dreams of: keep roasting Trump until his face matches his signature red hat. Let's be real, comedians don't do high road. Meanwhile, Trump, the undisputed champion of grudges, might spin this into a campaign talking point, complete with exaggerated reenactments and flailing hand gestures. And the internet? They're already 10 memes ahead, debating whether this saga ends with a stand-up special or a truth social meltdown. One thing's for sure, comedy wins every time. Drop your thoughts on Trump's controversies in the comments, and if you enjoyed this, don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more wild stories.